efficient customer service.
I want faster accounts payable. Automated customer
I want agentic
onboarding.
coding.
The board wants an update on our view and plans for impact of quantum on our business for the board meeting tomorrow.
Show of hands. How many of you felt like that pilot in that scene we just saw? Right? So as a former CIO, it's been more than a few times that my CEO has walked into the room asking, hey, Arvin, what's going on with this new technology? And in that instant, I shift from being a trusted advisor to a scrambling researcher. And now at AWS, as we talk to more and more customers and CIOs, this pattern is repeating more and more often. The reasons are very clear. Over the last 25 years, a range of technologies have completely transformed how industries in every sector of the industry and every function have been transformed more and more by technology. And this is only accelerating, powered by a combination of technologies that are accelerating and creating more and more impact. Whether it's AI or robotics or biotechnology, the cool thing really is that it's not just that these technologies are accelerating independently in isolation, but they're actually feeding into each other, creating an exponential impact that's accelerating impact for businesses as well. And the interesting thing is that, of course, this is not just something which is hidden somewhere. The media is talking about it, vendors are talking about it, there are industry events, and your business leaders are going into those events and learning about it there, and they're wondering why they're not hearing this internally in your own organizations. And this is a major challenge that we've got to overcome. Now, the real challenge is that it's not that our core work of technology delivery is getting any easier, right? Our work is getting more and more critical, more and more central to the business, and delivering excellence is absolutely non-negotiable. But at the same time, the technology leaders are also being expected to be the innovation champions, the scouts, the people who bring in and reshape existing organizations to be more modern and digital. This dual mandate is making things more and more complex for our roles. Now, I was a CIO I joined AWS a year and a half ago. Before that, I was a CIO for Kellogg's based in Singapore. And before that, with Prudential Insurance and Procter & Gamble. And over the last 10, 15 years, I've seen this pattern repeat again and again, where business leaders are getting more and more interested in technology. And the way I've responded to that is I've leaned into it and created a network of people around me in the technology organization and in business that I used to call the digital kampung. Kampung is a Malay word. I live in Singapore, so Malay is a language that's used there. Kampung is a Malay word for village. And this is a situation where you want people to come together to address this challenge. What I did is worked with enthusiasts who were keen to learn new technology, had that learning culture in them, and worked with them to do a lot of experiments to test out new and emerging technologies. 10, 15 years ago, a lot of this stuff was very new. So one of the first things you see on the top left is we built Alexa skills. Amazon had just launched Alexa then to figure out how consumers would engage with voice systems. We built IoT sensors that helped manufacturing teams figure out how automation can be accelerated. And a number of other such things over time did more and more of this, eventually including the families of some of our employees, because nothing gets people excited more than having their kids learn new technology as well. So there were a number of learnings I personally had that we will share about this now, and now I'll invite Tom to share his background on this space.
Thank you, Arvin. My name is Tom Soderstrom, and I was NASA's first CTO at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. And the slide that you see here was the attempt at how can we spend less money on IT and more on science and engineering. And we looked at cloud computing as one of the answers, and yes, it worked. And you can see the journey here from 2008 and beyond. And the idea was that if we could use cloud and AWS saw a business for it, then they would build it and we would help launch it. That's how we came up with so many of the services that you today use. So the secret here for you all is if you're interested in something that AWS is interested in, you have an extremely strong voice, not just for what is built, but how it's built. So, and of course, we're going to talk about some trends here. I was the futurist at Jet Propulsion Laboratory as the CTO. And who in here considers themselves their responsibility to keep understanding what the technology landscape looks like? Show of hands. Oh, good, good. Then we have a gift for you. Because it's a damn hard job, honestly. So what we did is, it was fun to hear you talk about Alexa. She's not listening, is she? Because one of the first things we saw is when we came up with GovCloud, and AWS built it, it created psychological safety for people to innovate in all kinds of ways. Have you ever heard of a two-way door decision? That is the way of using the cloud. So we created the first NASA Alexa app, and it's called NASA Mars, so it still runs. But this is about technologies. And what we're going to talk about is, so you have this dual mandate of figuring out what are the technologies that are coming, and at the same time, keep the plane flying. So we're going to have this in two pieces. We looked at the trends that are coming, we looked at it manually, and we're going to share what they are. And at the end of this, I'm going to ask you to bring your cell phones up and see what you care about, which ones you think are interested. But then we're going to then show you how you can do this automatically. So this will be our gift to you all. So what are the major technology trends? You are already looking at it, and the point is not to predict what's coming in the world. The point is to predict for your company, how will it make you more productive, more profitable, how will it save money using these new technologies? In fact, if you build it, they will come, if you guess right. Or if you don't want to build it, then somebody else will build it. And that's how we worked at NASA. So when you are looking at the future and you are wrong, it's easy to be ridiculed. And you can see some of these fun ones here. I'm very happy that he was wrong about the airplane. Otherwise, we'd be speaking to a very empty room. So if you predict right, you can get a first mover advantage. You can excite your people to participate. You can impact the creators of what's being built. And you can also get a first mover advantage. Or you can detect very early that you're way off, and this trend doesn't matter. So now we'll go a little deeper into each of these. But these are the 8 that we saw were interesting. And 2 of them are more questionable than the others. And I think you can guess which ones they are, but we'll find out. So cloud and generative AI belong together. You really cannot be successful in generative or agentic AI without using the cloud. It just needs that much horsepower. In 2020, we were experimenting. We were trying to see what we could do with generative AI and beyond. In 2025, we're generating ROI, return on investment. Or are we? With a show of hands, how many people here have in production a generative AI that is generating an ROI? Raise your hands very proudly if you do. Okay, it looks to be about 5%. All right, what about agentic AI? Do you have something in production? 1 person, 2, 3, 4. I feel like a salesman here. Is it generating ROI? Next year, when we ask the same question, a lot of hands will go up. That's the nature of these technologies. And $15.7 trillion estimate, that's a big number. And new jobs that will be created. We think about AI stealing our jobs, et cetera. It's actually going to create new jobs. And your opportunity is to create those jobs and staff them with your own people to see if they pay out. If they do, you're way ahead of the game. And if you're right, then you couldn't afford to hire those people later anyway. So it's a good way to just brainstorm. What are the new roles that will come? Now, when we think about it, Arvin and I thought about this long and hard. What is AI in real? So remember hailing a taxi? Actually, Is there anybody here from New York? You probably do that today. You trusted that they would stop for you. Then later on, you trusted that if you clicked your smartphone, they would come and get you. What we're seeing is this judgment is now that the self-driving car, you will trust that the car will get you there safely. So it's all about judgment. This happens to be Zooks. Has anybody been in a Zooks? They're here in Las Vegas. It's fun. I highly recommend you do it. But it's this trust. And when we look at AI at scale, anything from, anybody use Rufus to help you shop? It's awesome. Ask for a coffee maker that is easiest to clean, and it'll give you an example. The other thing that we don't see is regular machine learning is not going away. For instance, Rufus on the back end filters out 275 million fake reviews, so you don't have to look at them. It turns out the reviews is one of the most popular things. So generative AI, the benefit of this is that this is working at scale. So it's AI. It's moving forward. We're already there. But what's coming? It's where AI is becoming a personal assistant. It's where the future of education. Anybody have young children who ask why over and over and over? Well, AI doesn't get tired. AI will engage the student, and it will help them learn the way they want to do. Amazon CTO Werner Vogel said, and I'll quote this, "When you use tool to engage curiosity instead of enforcing compliance, schools spring to life, and that changes everything." I think that's really key. And for the teachers, they can now use generative AI and agentic AI for the drudgery, grading the reports, et cetera. So it's really about how we use AI. So you'll hear a lot about generative AI and agentic AI at this conference because it is the future. If you were through the cloud evolution like I was, this is at least as big, if not bigger, and it's really exciting. If you went through the cloud evolution, take those lessons learned, and you can now go through the agentic revolution. So productive at the edge. Anybody heard the word IoT? You tired of it? It didn't pay out, didn't have any ROI. Well, that's changing because we have 20 billion devices today. By 2030, we'll have 40 billion devices, and they will be connected, and they cannot send data all the time. So what we're going to see is we're going to see that the return on investment between business outcome and being productive at the edge is going to be key. Today, we talk about large language models. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about nano language models, where the AI will run on the device. Better silicon, smaller models, and it will create a digital twin. And I'll talk about that in a second. But what are some people who are doing this well? Coney, anybody know who that is? Anybody ever ridden an elevator or an escalator? They keep the cities running. They have 30,000 maintenance technicians. It's a Finnish company. They go on 80,000 customer calls per day, and 30,000 customer calls per month is filtered out because of agentic AI. They have everything at their fingertips. When they go to fix an elevator, they know the version, they know the history, what usually goes wrong, and they're much more productive. So IoT at the edge is really powerful. We also have AI in the jungle. I just like saying that. AI in the jungle is Hexagon, a Swedish-Swiss company, has a subsidiary called R-Evolution. And it's about measuring biodiversity. So they have a device that sits in the jungle and measures biodiversity over time. It's sitting at the edge, and it reports back when it has connectivity. And that's nice, because we do want to save the environment. But if you're a mining company and you want to do a mine, you have to prove that you are actually not disturbing biodiversity. So there's business reasons for AI and IoT at the edge. So we're going to see these massive digital scale digital twins. And what it means is that they're collecting the data at the edge, they're reporting it back into the cloud, and now you have a copy in the cloud of what is in the physical space. So now you can start doing what-if analysis. You can inject faulty data, and you can have a conversation with all of that data in the digital twin using what? Generative AI. Anybody been affected by a wildfire or know somebody affected by a wildfire? Yeah, I live in LA, so very affected. But it's coming faster and faster, and natural disasters are coming more and more. How do you deal with it? This is where we see the rise of augmented reality again, where you can insert people into a difficult or dangerous or far remote place without them having to be there. They can interact with a digital twin to see how fast the fire is spreading, detect it early. There's a company here called Voxalis.ai. They're on the 3rd floor of the Venetian here. And they have a device that they put on helicopters. And now the helicopters can just measure how is there a fire spot coming up, or they in the middle of fighting the fire. And it's a startup of about 20 people. And what we're seeing is we're seeing the benefit of having startups working with governments, working with universities, especially on things at the edge and AI. So if you're in that space, you're in luck. It's growing fast. Now, they will need access. And if you've heard of Kuiper, forget that. It's called LEO, Low Earth Orbit. And that is to be able to provide internet access to underserved places in the world. They're also here at re:Invent, and I highly recommend the conversation with them because it's much cheaper and much faster and lower latency than anything we've ever seen before. Countries can now get backup to if a fiber was cut, and the devices at the edge can get internet access. Number three here is robots and cobots at scale. What on earth is a cobot? Collaborative robots. We're seeing people and robots working together. And it's a $165 billion market in just a few years. That's a big number. All of these have a cumulative, we picked them because they're very large, dollar amount, and they have a very large cumulative growth rate, annual growth rate. So these robots, they are amazing. So they're everywhere. They're on the moon. Of course, I care about that being from NASA. But if you think about something unpleasant for a second, wars, they're being fought with drones. But what we're seeing is we're seeing much faster adoption in the civilian space from things that grew up in the defense space. We're seeing people who fight fires use the same technology that people who fight wars. Also, we're seeing people actually form relationship with robots. If you have a Roomba, raise your hand if you have a Roomba. Keep your hand up if you named it. Half people name their Roomba. In Sweden, where I grew up, they have automatic lawnmowers. 100% name them. It becomes a pet. And we find that these robots in hospital, kids will interact with them and be much calmer. Aging people will have a companion, and they need less medicine and less care. So it really becomes key. Now, for us, is in Amazon. We've been in a fulfillment center. If you haven't, I highly recommend it. It's a toy box for robotics. So if you look at the person on the top left, she is stuffing things that you bought. And the red boxes say, don't put it here because it's close to something that looks similar. And so she doesn't have the cognitive load of having to decide where to pick it. That saves a lot of time. On the right is a robot doing the same thing, augmenting it, but going high and going low, so to save her back. In the lower left-hand corner, the picker is giving a white angle where to pick, picks it from there, picks it, scans it, done. Fewer errors, much faster. And then we have the SLAM process, where in those few seconds that you see there, this is actually in real time, it is taking all the big data and it's putting it on the label, who is it and where are they going to. The box is already sealed, so there's complete privacy. Now, how big is this? It's huge. The fulfillment centers, for instance, delivered 600 million packages the same day, and that is going up. So the speed is about 3 hours from start to finish in the fulfillment center. The average delivery is 1.9 days from that you bought it, and the average time to buy is about 3 minutes. So this is speeding up and going faster, and robotics is helping. But how do they deliver? In the last mile, you have the driver now being able to use the same technology. You can see there it's going to shine a red light, don't pick that one, and then a green light. That's the one to deliver. That saves a minute per delivery, which is a lot. Now you add augmented reality glasses, and they can now do the same thing with hands-free. So everything builds on everything else here. What we're seeing is medical impacts at scale is another one. In 2020, we never went to a remote doctor visit. Well, then came COVID. In 1 month, it increased 157%, or 157 times. And now we're looking at it, yeah, you can actually have a doctor's visit. We're wearing wearables, we're counting ourselves, can we sleep better, et cetera. And that is going towards its personal AI guardian. Genomics is an area that uses a lot of data, a lot of AI, and you can even in the future be able to get a prescription before you even know that you have the disease, because it looks at the genomic data and it tells you what you need to do. So it becomes your guardian. And it's a big business. And this genomics is not just good for people, it's good for koalas. I want to tell this story about a researcher in Sydney, Australia, who had a lot of genomics data, but she didn't have the people and the skills to analyze it enough. So she put it in Amazon's open data exchange, and a researcher in Sweden was able to solve it in just a few days. And do you know how you save the koala? You vaccinate them from chlamydia. Who would have known? Well, I'm happy to say that 2 months ago, that was actually approved, that the vaccine in Australia, so there is big hopes for the koala. The point of that is, if you share the data and you share how you can work faster, you can do miracles. And digital twins is not just for things, it's for humans. So if I have a disease, they can have a digital twin of me, because everything is being measured, and they can see where they should operate before they do it. And now they can bring in robotics and have somebody from outside actually do the surgery. So the medical impacts are fantastic, and we're going to need them. We lived till about 47 years old in 1900, 78 in 2000, and in 2100 it'll be, I don't have a clue, but we're going to live longer. And we will have implants, and AI is going to be what keeps us healthy. So it's just not a new thing. It's very personal and very important. The fifth here is data. There's no surprise to any of you that data is going faster. Anybody know what the biggest number we measure is? Yottabyte. And yottabyte was impossibly big. Well, we're going to get there in 2030. So now you need to learn a new word, quettabytes. So a quettabyte is 10 with 30 zeros behind it. So if you learn what did you call that? Kampung? Kampung. And now quettabyte. So you learn so much here. But how are you going to analyze all this data? We're seeing agentic AI as being an ability here to analyze the data that's coming and to deal with it differently. And the data is not just structured. It's unstructured, 90% of it. And how do you get your arms around all of this data in your company? The answer, as uncomfortable as it is you won't. You won't get your arm around all the data. But it's okay. Just work backwards on the problem and think about the problem you're trying to solve. And then use generative AI to tie into partners' data. What we're thinking here is flipping the script. That's the easiest thing we have seen successful companies do. Instead of you having to fill out a form to use my data, I have to fill out a form to protect the data. And it changes everything, because now you can experiment. Using AI and Internet of Things, it creates a lot of data, and now you can start analyzing it. You can also use synthetic data. Is anybody using synthetic data yet? Okay, very few. So this is the hand scanner called Amazon One. I'm on a run, I go into an Amazon Fresh, pick up a bottle of water, just hold my hand over and run out. That is because they trained it with synthetic data, and it's 99.9999%. It's very accurate. It's more accurate than an iris or a fingerprint. But it was the synthetic data that made it happen. So that's the opportunity here with data. 6 out of 8 is crypto. And crypto revolution, we may or may not be right, but if you have invested in Bitcoin 10 years ago, it would be the single biggest investment you could have made. But it's up and down, so it's worrisome. But now we have regulations coming, and there is growth. And blockchain keeps going. So the token economy means that you will have tokens on digital tokens for physical things. So, and that changes everything. Have you ever thought about how an agent will pay another agent, software agents? They'll probably use stablecoin. And they'll probably use micropayments, a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a penny. So all of a sudden, it creates a new economy. And decentralized finance may be one of them. Then quantum computing. So quantum is, we worried about building the hardware. And in the left corner is Amazon's quantum lab at Caltech in Los Angeles. Now we've actually made error-correcting qubits. So a qubit is not a qubit. If it's error-correcting, it's 90% faster and better than a non-error-correcting. And it's a large market. Where will it go? You can see it's a big impact. It's going to have a lot of jobs. Where will it go as far as business applications? That's going to be the question, and when. So we think this is one of the key trends because of the growth rate and the amount of money. But what applications will we see? And which quantum computer? So these are four completely different quantum computers. We don't know which one will win the ring that rules them all, but Amazon provides choice. So you can use bracket to try and to see which one makes the biggest impact. The important part here is to get your programmers to try to use quantum computing to see what you can do. Then we have Airbus and BMW looking at being able to do logistics, being able to soundproof it. A lot of near-term opportunities. The biggest one of all, quantum safe encryption. That's where you worry about the future quantum computing, decrypting your data. And so that's being worked on. That's the single biggest opportunity right now. And you don't have to wait. Use AWS as quantum safe encryption algorithms. Others do too. The key here is to use it. The last one is, do we have enough energy for this? We use fossil fuels, then we use renewables. And Amazon is the biggest producer of renewables and also purchaser of renewables. And now we're looking at nuclear power. It doesn't produce fossil fuel, but we're going to need all of this energy. And it isn't just about energy to power things like windmills. It's about your energy to be able to handle this and having this dual mandate. So if you pull out your smartphones, which of these emerging technologies will matter the most to you? Sorry, there's the QR code. If you do that, you'll be able to see which ones of these do you care about. Click on all of them, click on none of them, and we're going to see the results in just a few minutes. So it looks like agentic AI and data and energy. That's a surprise. I didn't expect that. Crypto, not so much. Quantum, somewhat. And otherwise, it's an even split, I think. Surprising, not more people on edge computing. But this is what matters to your company. And having to do this on your own is hard work. So isn't there a better way? Arvin?
Absolutely. So in the last 20 minutes, we've done a kind of whirlwind tour of 8 technology trends that we felt were important, but they may or may not be important for you. And this thing is moving so fast that you've got to build your own capability to stay in touch with technology trends. What you need is to upgrade your cockpit with a radar system that can do this reconnaissance for you. What you need is a radar that can sweep the landscape on a periodic basis and identify what technologies are starting to appear on the landscape. And more importantly, you need a systemic way that can then identify those technologies, understand how far are they from impact with you, how fast are they moving, what's the business impact potential, and how mature are they to make an impact for your business. So that's something you need to continuously do and be able to share that with your business leadership to stay ahead in this dual mandate situation. And very importantly, based on this data, you also need to then be able to tell if this is a technology that I should be deploying in my business right now because it's making an impact in my industry, in my peers and competitors. Or is this something which is close to making business impact, and therefore we should be starting pilots or maybe experiments? Or if it's something which is less mature but moving fast and potentially big impact, this may be something that requires monitoring. This is a lot of work. And Tom and I, in our past, have done this manually using that kampung to help us in this journey. But things are much easier now. This is 2025. This is the year where agents can help you solve this problem. And we're not just suggesting that agents can solve this problem for you. We actually have a solution for you. So quick story, backstory here is, when we were doing the research for this talk, Tom and I, as often happens in Amazon, we wrote a paper on this topic saying what CIOs need today is a systemic, automated way to scan for technology landscape and do these assessments and understand what's important. And as happens in Amazon, this paper gets distributed, and people add to that, provide inputs, and some of them say, hey, I'll build this for you. So I want to introduce Jiyoon Park, who's part of our Korea solution architects team. And she raised up her hands and volunteered and said, I'll build this for you. So what we're going to show you today, and give you today, in fact, is an agentic system that can automate this entire reconnaissance work. Jiyoon?
Thanks, Arvin. Hi, everyone. I'm Jiyoon. Today, I'm going to walk you through what is the TechRecon powered by agentic AI. So before I show you the result, I'm going to highly briefly explain the architecture of the TechRecon behind the agentic AI. So the TechRecon is a multi-agent system that researches public sources like newspapers, consulting companies, and IT vendors, and generates a series of documents to IT leaders so they can understand the fast-changing emerging technologies and deep dives where they need. So we have supervisor agent here, which orchestrates the entire workflow across the sub-agents. And we define the TechRecon by a prompt. So it's going to support the CIO of the XYZ company and researching the emerging technologies. We iterated with this with many different prompts and finalized this with the best one. Inside the system, each agent has the specialized role which go on their respective tasks. So the planner agents create tasks for the other agents. Researcher agents gathers the information, and they're actually research on behalf of human. Coder agents read, saves, and creates files. And reporter agent synthesizes everything and make it as a final output. And these agents work in a sequential way. So based on the user request, there's gonna measure two outputs, which is the part one, emerging tech landscape analysis, which is gonna cover the broad landscapes of the technologies. And part two, position papers on the specific technology, which is dive deep on one specific technology and creates the report of your company's position papers. This is the strength of agentic AI system. With multiple agents which has their specialized role, they're working together, using their tools they need, and making the final outputs autonomously.
And as we were working together on this, what we realized is not only can it do research for you, which is gather all of these insights and convert that into kind of summarized documents, but could even do the analysis we talked about earlier. So if you build a slide, what the agents were able to do using coding capabilities, etc., just click this, yeah, is we created 3 measures, 3 scores for every technology that it found. We calculated an impact score, and this is based on the work that actually was done at NASA on technology readiness scoring. And the way this happens is it's very specific to your company. So Jiyoon mentioned earlier that it's designed for your company. So let's say you are the CIO of a pharmaceutical company, It'll do the analysis and impact analysis for your industry, right? And similarly, maturity scoring, which is how ready is this technology for use today. And finally, momentum, which is how fast is this moving? Is this accelerating or slowing down? So for every technology, we were able to create these 3 scores and then build, next slide. And also, what we were able to do, once you have those scores, and build one more, what we were able to do is based on those scores, you could actually reach some sort of judgment on if this is a technology which is high impact and highly mature, and is being right now, there are examples of use cases of this making an impact in your industry, then that's something you should deploy right now. But if it's earlier in maturity, then that may be something you want to pilot or experiment. Whereas if there's something else which is very early stages, very mature, but moving fast and potentially big impact, that's something you want to monitor. Now, these were some parameters we chose as we were experimenting with this, but you can pick your own parameters and create how you want to assess and decide what to do with each of these technologies. And now, Jian will show an actual demo of how the system works.
Okay, now I show you the demo. But before I show you play the demo, I'm going to briefly explain the front end of the TechRecon. So as you can see in the middle, you can see the real-time logs as they are being streamed. So they're going to be the outputs of each agent's and display on the middle of the screen. On the right-hand side, you can see the control panel, and you can see each status of each agent. And below down there, there's a button so that you can execute create the reports, which is the part 1 landscape analysis report, and part 2 technology position papers. And if all those tasks are completed, you can download all the files in the bottom right corner.
That's all right. I think we can just move forward. Yeah.
Okay, so after the demo is completed, you can see the result, which is the emerging technologies reconnaissance report, which is the part 1. This is the real result for you can utilize in your real world. So this is the example part 1 report for CIO of the Pfizer company. So if there's anyone here from the Pfizer or pharmaceutical industry company, then congrats, you can get this report today. But otherwise, you can run this code in your local system and then just replace the variables with your industry and your company name. So this part 1 is going to cover the overview of the technology landscape, strategic recommendations based on the score assessment, which is Arvin explained before, and the industry-specific context as well. Because the TechRecon follows the strict fixed template, so you can run it monthly, quarterly, or whenever you want to catch up the new emerging technology trends. After creating the landscape analysis report, you can create the technology paper, which dives deeper into such one technology. Here, so you can see the generative AI. As you can see, it includes the key findings, strategic recommendations, technology deep dives, and also the real-world use cases you can utilize. And the TechRecon is not only just cover the technical thing, it covers the business as well. So you can see why this matters for Pfizer in this report as well. So the TechRecon is not a new service. It's a blueprint so that your teams can deploy within a few weeks. On the average, maybe it's going to cost them less than $2,000 per year, but it depends on how much you're going to run. So it can take less, it can take more. Many companies don't know where to start. They actually want to build the agentic AI, but they don't know where to start. This is why the TechRecon is so powerful, and you can start it today. We're going to give you the code, architecture, and the implementation guide today, so you can run this and build your own strategic advisor with the TechRecon. So this is the technical thing. Then what about the human side? Tom gonna introduce it.
So I'm not sure it was clear. The system actually it scans the technology for you, and it writes those reports. That's what you're going to be asked for. That's what the dual mandate is. So you get a lot of help from what Yoon built. But it's not about technology alone. It's about people. So I want you on 3 to yell out what COE means. 1, 2, 3. But it shouldn't. So I created a center of excellence for cloud at NASA, and we've seen many companies do that. What do? You create a center of people who think they're excellent, and everybody else hates them. And then they create their own center of excellence. You now don't have just shadow IT, you have shadow COEs. So isn't there a better way? There is. With all of these new technologies that are coming, what you really want is you want to work backwards on the business problem, and you want a center of engagement. You want people to try it, experiment with it, and be able to, very scrappy, test it. And if it pays out business dividends, you double down. So you think big, start small with these experiments, then scale fast. But they're business experiments, not technology experiments. And trust me, the companies we talk to, this works. And the people who do it get promoted. So this is the way to actually try this out. Now, the other thing that it does is it engages teams and people beyond your organization. I mean, you're all sitting here, and hopefully you're talking to each other, because that's the future collaborators that you're going to have. So the TechRecon Center of Excellence can now reach out to business units, as many as you can, and then to external partners, and the entire ecosystem intelligence. And you will start feeding each other information that you're looking for, and perhaps even create new partnerships with these agents. And it all starts with the tech COE, or I'm sorry, the technology reconnaissance that Yuan built. But how do you fund it? How do you prove that this is worthwhile? Arvin, how do you fund it?
Yeah, so I would say that the human side of this is probably the most important investment needed, but you do need some dollars as well. And in my experience, as we got this thing going, one of the most important things was to create the fuel for innovation. That we all, hope we'll go to our CFO and CEO and say, hey, we need to stay in touch with technology, emerging technologies, and please fund it. It's very hard to get funding for that. The way I've always done that is to start the innovation process, the new technology application process in areas that generate some savings first. And then I have the agreement with the CEO and the CFO that instead of taking that saving to the bottom line, we'll reinvest this into more innovation. And that's the reason I call it fuel for innovation. And once you have the technical capability, the human side of it, and this little bit of funding, then the way you want to think about this is to get your flywheel of emerging technology and innovation going. The way Amazon likes to look at flywheels is you think of this as a flywheel. You need to give it a start by getting some business leadership engagement, attracting talent into it. You get the right talent, the right ideas for innovation come up, and you make them successful. You invest in making the early ones successful, and that gets your flywheel going. And as you gather momentum, more and more ideas are generated and more impact to the business happens. And as someone who's trying to get this TechRecon capability going, unless you want to do this all by yourself, you've got to think about how the flywheel is running and how you can accelerate it further. So that was one of the areas that we focused on. And a common learning that both Tom and I had was oftentimes the question that gets asked is ROI. And what I have done, sometimes successfully, sometimes not very successfully, is kind of shift that conversation to ROA, which is return on attention. What truly matters when you're looking at emerging technologies and early stages are there ideas that actually business cares about? Are they paying attention to this? Are they putting effort into exploring this and figuring out how this can create value for them? And the way we measure that is through how much engagement are we getting? Are people showing up? Are they volunteering to be part of this ecosystem? Is the velocity of the ideas that are moving and the ideas that are moving from early stage to actual experimentation growing? And finally, most importantly, is this leading to strategic conversations in the executive room saying, look, here are the 10 technologies which are coming up. These have potential. We want to do experiments with these 3, watch these 5, etc. That is the sign that this COE is working for us or not. Now, there are many challenges to making it work, of course. This is not straightforward. The common issue in the earlier stages is you launch this thing and nobody shows up. No one has time. Everyone's very busy. This is a classic issue. And again, investing in the early few projects in a way that saves dollars as well as capacity is very useful. I found that always very helpful. But more importantly, it's about creating that culture. Leadership has to convey the message that learning is important, not just for this job and this company today, but for your careers in the future. The second thing that often comes in the way is everyone, once you get people excited, everyone wants to work on the same hot technology. And if you truly want to look at a portfolio of emerging technologies, you want more people to be interested in different things. And there are many ways to do that by making sure that the portfolio is very clear and you move people from one idea to the other and not kind of let everyone get focused on the same thing. And finally, very importantly, your business has to feel like it's their problem to solve. If that's not happening, so you have to work backwards from where the business opportunities are, right? So with that, hopefully, we've given you a lot of ideas on how to do this. We have seen, and that it's possible in a 90-day period to get this whole engine and this flywheel going. In the first month or so, using now what's possible with TechRecon, the agentic tool, you can actually set the foundation in place and have the conversation with your CEO and CFO that this is something as an organization you want to put more attention on. In the second month, you can start looking at some of these position papers, get people to own it, build more detail into it, and by month 3, you should be going into your executive boardrooms and having a conversation about what are the technologies you want to keep an eye on and potentially do experiments with. Now, I make it sound very simple. This is not like a silver bullet, of course. There are challenges, but this is becoming so important for us in our roles as CIOs that this is not something that can be ignored. We have to figure out a way to manage our operational delivery responsibilities while also building the muscle to do technology reconnaissance. So hopefully, with that, what you should be able to do is this future.
What's our position on the new AI regulations?
Already briefed the board last week. Position paper sent to your tablet.
Maybe after we close.
How will quantum computing affect our encryption?
We've been monitoring quantum developments. Recommend moving to quantum-resistant encryption in Q2. Full analysis ready for review.
All right, so with that, we want you to go out and conquer the dual mandate. You have a lot of resources here. You will have access to, actually, the source code for TechRecon is posted. You can access that. We'll be hanging around for a few minutes. We'll actually redo the demo as well, since that didn't work earlier. But very importantly, this week is an amazing set of folks who are around here. There are people. Everyone who's in this gathering, hopefully, are folks who want to build this capability. So talk to each other, connect with them. Go to the expo floor, go to the replay. There's a lot of new technology on demo. Get to see that and learn how that works. So with that,
one more point. When I asked you how many had an agentic something running, like 2 people raised their hands. Here's your opportunity to have an agentic something running. That is very low risk. It's very low cost, but it gets you started. While she's setting up the demo, it's 2 minutes. where you can actually see what you would get. It's worth it because people will get interested. As we started doing this, we realized it was not at all what we thought. Like in the beginning, you may think an agent is an intern, where you can just tell an intern, go do something. You can't do that with an agent. So that prompt that she showed is very, very telling. It came from a lot of iteration. So it gives you a chance to get hands-on. So 2 minutes and you'll see this
Just do the demo again. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. So as soon as you click the run button, the supervisor agent takes all the controls of the entire workflow, and the planner agent begins the planning of the researcher, coder, and reporter agent is gonna run. So actually, you can see the real-time logs as they're being streamed from each agent, which is specifically the planner agent right now. And basically, the planner identifies what needs to be done. So once the planner finishes generating the task list that the researcher, coder, and reporter agents begin executing their respective tasks and start filling in their information. So when all the tasks are completed, you can see on the right-hand side, the control plane, all the agent's status is gonna change to completed, and the generated files become available for down the bottom right corner. You can download all the files. So after you create the part 1, you can proceed to part 2. So it's gonna generate the specific technology position papers, which is gonna based on the part 1 assessment scores, the higher ranked assessment scores.
So if you go to the last slide, just so you can see where to download it. But it's an open source, it's a blueprint. It gives you a chance to have this dual mandate. It's hard, but once you've set it up, let's say you have a board meeting tomorrow and they ask you to come in and talk to the board of directors, which will happen with agentic AI. You can just run this and have the latest report. It creates it for you. That's kind of the key. It saves you time. So
thank you. We'll hang around here. If anyone wants to actually implement this, June is here, and through that GitHub link, you can, of course, get access to the code. There are instructions there, and you can also reach out to us for any support or help needed to make it work. Thank you.
Thank you.